groups will come on, and here they are. We're live on all of everything at once. Fantastic. Thank you, for the for waiting. It's so we have a new form. We have a new form, sort of. Anyway, it looks like it works very nicely. It's just that the timing is strange. So we'll work on that. So here we are. Oh, I want to see what you guys are talking about. We are live here. Okay, cool. One thing. There we go. Okay, so good morning from Phuket. Oh my gosh, there are people that I know in Phuket. Can you imagine? It's Kathy, of course. You all know Kathy. Kathy's Corner. Kathy's Corner is at the other end of Phuket. My corner is over here. There, we made it on. Okay, so Facebook, we made it. Okay, good. So we're on all of them. All right, fantastic. Let me see. This thing is kind of weird, greasy. So anyway, if anyone knows what's going on in the world, tell me. Buenos noches. Saludos. And so, anyway, we're in the show. Okay, so anyway, I just like to mention I just saw hi Trishul. Someone had sent a message real quick. Look like easily answered. It says, "Is EBV Epstein-Barr virus come from a mosquito parasite?" No. The general rhetoric that we're told by the Rockefellerian group, as the Rocky and his boys, is that it comes from intimate contact, kissing, sexual activity, or just being being very close to somebody. And first of all, do viruses exist? Is the first question. The second question is if they're not, if whatever's happening to us is not viral, what is happening to us? So that's a whole story that we need to get into. But okay, so but not right away, not today. So let's do this. Let's look at, and all of these people are waving. Fantastic, man. And let's find our questions, okay, and go there and get started. Okay, so the questions will be under. Where the heck? Questions? Yeah. Are they in the team? There we go. That's the link, but where are the questions? Okay. Questions. There we go. Okay, cool. Here we are. Sorry with that delay. Oh, where is it? Come on. It's Word. Okay. There we go. We're gonna get rid of this one. Okay. Anyway, I wanted to comment on a little bit on where'd it go? Iodine. Let me just comment on that really quickly because, and I'll make a short video if I can. How do you make a short video on something that's so complicated? It's very difficult. But anyway, iodine is it's like the forgotten mineral, and it's not a mineral in the sense that sodium and magnesium are minerals, because by definition they're called transition metals or um, and they carry a plus charge. Of course, they can't remain in that position at all, so they immediately have a negative charge to hang out with. So sodium gets chloride, which is negative, and magnesium can get chloride, or can get they don't need two chlorides. Um, or can get oxide or bromide or fluoride, anything. They can all act kind of the same. But iodide is at the bottom of the it's the largest of the halogens, and the halogens are sodium a bromide, fluoride, and chloride, or chloride, fluoride, and bromide, and then iodide. They all have the same activity. They're just larger. Each one is larger than the other. So, and that's one of the problems with our thyroid is that the thyroid gland, when it's producing thyroid, if there are no iodides around, which happens quite often since we live in an iodide deficient soil, and we don't eat seaweed. So unless you're Japanese and you eat a traditional diet with a lot of seaweed, you won't be getting the iodine. If you don't get the iodide, You cannot make T3 and T4 because they rely on an iodide. And so what they'll use is something that's just as available, or just as that fits chemically for that reaction, and that would be the bromide, fluoride, or chloride. So you'll have your T3 may be one, if you're lucky, one iodide, and maybe two fluorides, or a bromide and the fluoride. And the T4 might have two chlorides and a fluoride and a bromide, or whatever. So they still measure as T4 and T3, but they don't have the activity, because the whole idea of the thyroid hormone is to deliver iodine to the cells, which has multiple effects. So, and one of them is control over the immune system. So if you don't have a healthy thyroid, you won't have a healthy immune system. It's impossible. But I don't know if this has been talked about. But I wrote about it years ago. So I'm going to rewrite this paper on it. So you should understand it, because it's the most really forgotten. And in fact, there was a paper written called iodophobia, medical iodophobia, because for some reason doctors are afraid to use it. And that has to do with thyroid function and all that. So we'll go into that in the paper. But just to let you know that iodine is very important. It must be restored to healthy levels. And that takes at least a year of taking 25 milligrams a day. But then you're getting more iodine in your system than that would be necessary for an active maintenance. An active maintenance would be 12.5 milligrams, but you're not at maintenance yet, because you haven't reestablished or established for the first time healthy levels of iodine. So for that reason, you'll be taking 25 milligrams a day, just so that it doesn't take for the next 10 years. And that can and will suppress thyroid hormone output. So being aware of that, and being aware that you've got two simultaneous goals. Number one is to restore healthy thyroid function, which requires that you fill up the deficit of iodine, because that's part of the final molecule in T3 and T4. And secondly, it is to maintain a healthy thyroid level functioning while you are busy restoring iodine supplies to the body. And you can only do that by taking something exogenously, an outside hormone, a thyroid. And I always use natural thyroid hormones. Natural because they have T3 and T4 in them. And they're derived from animals. So those of us who are philosophically or morally or ethically opposed to killing animals will probably have a hard time taking these. They're called glandulars because they come from the glands of either sheep or cows, or I think that's it, sheep or cows. And pigs, I'm sorry. But they might come from other mammals. Which all the more actually illustrates one important fact, and that is the functioning of the human body, its structure and functioning, its anatomy and physiology, is very similar to all mammals, producing the same kinds of hormones. And hormones are the way the body talks to itself. Uh, Same with peptides and, and all the other products, which is why, like for example, when insulin was first discovered, um, they were using insulin from a pig, and so it was, you know, in order to extract it, you have to remove the thyroid glands of a pig, so or whatever animal, So that's the ethical dilemma. So if that is a real problem for you, then the choice is getting the synthetic versions of both the T4 and T3 and then putting them in the proper ratio. Um, and the T4 is easily obtained. Um, and it's the only thing that most doctors ever prescription they ever write for when it comes to thyroid. Levothyroxine. Now, when it comes to thyroid, I don't know. Let me just review this for you. When it comes to thyroid, the active aspect is the T3. The T4 is inactive. In other words, it's a precursor, pre-hormone, and it circulates. And when a cell needs it, it'll grab it, take off the iodine, one of the iodines. So it goes from T4 to T3. Now it fits. It can give you. So anyway, that's how that works, and that's why you need to take iodine, in spite of the fact that it will probably lower your thyroid output and make you more hypothyroid than you already were. And the way you combat this is by doing your basal body temperatures in the morning to uh, ascertain the appropriate times for you to increase or not increase, or just whether you're taking enough uh, thyroid hormone or not. Okay, and the thyroid hormone that we usually look at are the porcine ones from the U.S., which are Westroid and what's that other? Well, no. Anyway, from New Zealand, it's Thyrovans. But basically, these are glandulars, as we said. All right. So, come on. Where are we? Where are we? Come on. There we are. Okay. Very good. All right. Uh, so now, so someone is mentioning they take a nascent thyroid. That usually refers to only the iodine. So remember the Lugol's in 1820, I think it was. Armor, that's right, Cindy. Thank you. So it's Armor Thyroid, um, Westroid, Thyrovans. All right, are the main ones. I'm sure there's other glandulars. They provide you the T3 and the T4. Now, so Lugol, who was a chemist in 1820, divided Lugol solution. And the problem is in order to make the solution, you have to have double the amount of iodide than iodine, because iodide is water soluble and iodine is not. So what happened is uh, what happens is that if you were to, because you really need more iodine than iodide, because iodine, which is molecular iodine, which is two of them together, actually what that does is destroy CFCs. It destroys bacteria. It uh, it has incredible. It also is a cofactor involved in healthy estrogen metabolism, which is very important. So yeah, that's it. So that's why you'd use uh, Lugols, so you can get both. Now you're not going to get them in the proper solution because in order to stay in solution, you have more iodide because it's water soluble, right? So that means that Lugols will be giving you more iodide to the thyroid, causing it to decrease its output. All right. If we could somehow find a way to reverse it so that there was more iodine than iodide, it'd be great. Except it's not chemically possible in that form. So let's get on with the show. All right, so it's here. So as you know, and as we mentioned every week, um, just a quick uh, orientation if you're a new first time watching this, is that we don't use the astrological sign for people who have tumors. We refer to that situation as exactly what it is, which is chronically fermenting cells. All right. So if you have chronically fermenting cells in the breast, pancreas, colon, liver, brain, that's what they are. They're chronically fermenting cells. And we use that word because that word is helpful, makes us feel good, it gives us a purpose, a reason, a way out of this um, dilemma. And uh, because you know what it is, you know how to deal with it. So it does all sorts of wonderful things like that. So anyway, and if you currently have CFCs, then our an oasis of healing in Arizona is we're in our 20th year now. It's really wonderful. It's not because I'm involved with it and I founded it, but because it looks at all aspects of human nature that need to be dealt with when you're ill with anything, and that's the body's mind spirit continuum. Right? You can't ignore any. So, but uh, very good, excellent. Um, so you can call them. All right. So now, and then as you all know, we have three groups called the what is it called? The Dr. Lodi community. And in the Dr. Lodi community are three groups. One is the Health and Healing group. It was formerly called Inner Circle, but um, we've changed it. Um, I mean, the Inner Circle sounded good at first, but it sounded sort of elitist and and it really is the community. So if you're in any group, the Health and Healing group, Parasite group, or CFC groups, the community that forms because you have access. There's a Telegram um, chat group that's private to everyone who's members. Um, and what's shared on there is amazing. And most people that are on there have been dealing with whatever situation it is, parasites or CFCs or whatever, for quite a long time, and they've got lots of experience, and they share that experience. So it's amazing what goes on there, and it means that you have more than just one person to consult. You have a lot of people to consult and trust. So it's fantastic in that regard. So there's those three groups, and you can just go to our website, drlodi.com. That's drlodi.com. get on the website, and then you can join. So if you're on Twitter, of course, it's what you're looking at now is Dr. Thomas Lodi, MD. If you're on the new TikTok, you're also looking at Dr. Thomas Lodi, MD. But I don't know we're on. I don't think we're able to stream on TikTok. And for all the rest, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, Rumble. It's all at Dr. Thomas Lodi. There's no MD at the end. It's only for the X and TikTok that they have Dr. Lodi, MD. Thomas Lodi, MD. All right. And you can also go to the website and stream, which is drlodi.com/live. Okay. Great. So let's check out the questions here. Oh, the for those of you who have been watching the Human Diet series, webinar series, um, we had to postpone last Friday's, which would have been the third um, part, the third program, which was what does the research say, um, until this coming Friday. My Friday is your Thursday. Sorry, your Thursday afternoon. Um, and then what we're saying is, what does the research say? You know, you know what your doctor says. You know what your friends say. You know what the prevailing opinions are, but you don't know what the research says. Because by knowing what the research says, you've studied it, and now you can answer it yourself. And you need to know because it's kind of important. And one of the things that we're going to do with the Dr. Lodi community is we're improving. We're going to improve the once you join the experience, because the experience has been um, fragmented. We didn't really have a coordinator for that, so we're going to have someone who specifically coordinates the all the different groups, and it allows everyone to have a relationship with that person too. Answer questions and all that. And we're going to have videos summarizing what's available, etc. Because a lot of people weren't taking advantage of the fact that if they were unable to see it live, you can watch a replay, or that a big part of the of what's available is the weekly Zoom meetings, and we have weekly Zoom meetings 2 days a week, soon to be 3 days a week, and that's where we can have direct interaction. You can ask direct questions, and you know it's really worthwhile. And then of course we already have, as you know, uh, a movement specialist, which is Vanna, Darren. He's a kinesiologist, and then we have Vanessa, a nutritionist and yoga coach, and many things, health educator. And then we have Donna, who's been eating uncooked vegan food for 35 years now. So she gives guidance on how to make that transition and how to be happy about it. How to be happy about it. It's got to taste good. Period. Anyway, so that's it, and we're good. We're improving that. So I hope to see you all there, because that's how we can interact. See, the format on Sunday night, I can't interact. I wind up doing it anyway. There's no fear of ivermectin at all, unless you have a specific allergy or something to it. Okay. All right. So here we are. Yes. Go to our question. Okay. Let's. Okay. All right. So here we go. Let's get our questions. First question from Charlie regarding breast CFCs. Greetings, doc. It's is it better to do a detox before going on a robust 3 to 7 day fast? Is it okay to sleep with onion breath? With onion? Oh, with onion beneath the feet at night during a natural detox protocol or while fasting? Can ivermectin be taken during a protocol, a detox protocol? And what is your recommended dose for taking fenbendazole and ivermectin? All right, um, so a pretty interesting questions. Um, so really, the first question is it better to do a detox before going on a robust 3 to 7 day water? I'm imagining you mean water fast. Um, um, yes, I mean, if you, yes, if you could do that, that would be good. But if you can't do it that way because of whatever reasons, it's okay. But that would be ideal. And of course, if you're doing a water fast, a true fast, then you don't really take any supplements or medicines unless they're a medicine that you have to take. That in other words, if you can't just abruptly stop them. So if that's kind of medicine, you'd have to still take it. But it's very different than doing a juice cleanse where you can still take the ivermectin and fenbendazole and whatever, all the other antiparasitics. So the other one was, is it okay to sleep with onions beneath the feet? Sure. And can ivermectin be taken during a detox protocol? Well, the problem with pregnancy is that they only study them on animals because it'd be unethical to give a pregnant woman something potentially dangerous just to get information that is dangerous, you and that would actually make it unethical as well. So the question was, okay, so the other one was, can ivermectin be taken during a pregnancy protocol, and is it recommended to take fenbendazole along with ivermectin? So yes, as we've mentioned many times, the anti-worms, are the anti-helminthics, the triad that I think works very well is ivermectin and one of the benzimidazoles, fenbendazole or mebendazole or albendazole. And the third one, which I think should be my close mind, unless you've got specific situation where you think you have like a flatworm in your liver um, from eating raw fish in Southeast Asia, then you'll want to change to praziquantel. Praziquantel. And then, so that's the worms, and then the protozoa can be kept at bay, not causing problems by using tinidazole, metronidazole, but tinidazole is better in this regard. But also, there's a drug called nitazoxanide, which goes by the brand name of Alina, and um, it's an amazing drug because it actually eliminates CFCs, but it also um, is both worm and antiprotozoal, so very important. And so the doses can be depending on weight and age and all that, but usually for an adult, ivermectin is 12 milligrams 3 times a day. Fenbendazole is 222 milligrams 3 times a day, or the mebendazole 500 milligrams 3 times a day. Um, and the niclosamide 500 milligrams 3 times a day, and the um, nitoxin, nitoxin, nitoxinide, nitazoxanide is 500 milligrams 3 times a day as well. And then there are antifungals included, which are fluconazole and or nystatin, right? And the fluconazole can be 100 3 times a day, or it can be there's different ways the doctors write it in the U.S. 150 or 200 milligrams. So the nystatin would be 500,000 units because it's in units 3 times a day. So I hope you got that. And like, no, it's recommended not when you're doing a water fast not to be doing anything other than not to be taking anything other than water, and then prescribed medicines that would be cause you damage if you quit them abruptly and didn't wean. So hold on a moment. Let me just go find out. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So the next question is from Annette. She goes, "Hi, stop the meds as instructed to take an antifungal. By day 3, flare up was up so intense I had to start the meds again. Can you recommend a rotation protocol so parasites are never without meds, or a 5 to 2 schedule each week because of the adverse reaction to a 3 days off?" Okay, well, in your situation, Annette, um, that doesn't happen with everyone. Most people can take a week off. Um, and it's helpful in biology because we always want to give our bodies a break from whatever we're introducing to it, because um, in nature nothing is every day. I mean, except breathing, but I mean nothing is every day, and nothing is available every day, which is why animals don't eat all the time, and they won't eat until they find food. They run into food that is fits within their instinctual parameters. All right, so for you, apparently, if you go more than 2 days, you can do 2 days. But if you go more than 2 days, then you wind up getting an extreme flare up. And so I don't, I wonder what the flare up was, But keep in mind that you should be doing the liver detox protocol, right? That we've talked about. Um, and Let me show you one other thing here. Um, there it is. Let's see. No, that's not. Um, anyway, I can't. I'm not gonna spend time looking for it. Okay, can't find it. Um, and so what I was looking for is basically you want to be taking what during the whole period you should be taking the liver detox protocol, and the reason for this is that these each of these medications all require um, very similar actions by the liver to neutralize them, which means your liver is working on like 4 or 5 medications daily, right? And so it can get tired or exhausted in one area, and then you see a flare up of enzymes. And don't worry about the liver because the liver is the most resilient and restorative organ in our body. You can donate 2/3 of it to a sibling and it'll grow back. No other organ does that. It's very similar to a lizard's tail. So it's a very regenerative organ. It doesn't mean it should be abused. It just means that it's a very regenerative organ. Not like our kidneys or our stomach or lungs. So that's that. Um, and here's Don. Don says, I'm 87 and in good health, other than the return of my prostate CFC after 10 years. I feel that I'm doing well for my age, and I am active and can do most things that I do at 70. My wife and I are still together after 65 years. Fantastic. I am not left with many options to treat the CFCs. My last PSA was 0.20. I'm interested in a holistic approach like FedMed or ivermectin, but need a protocol. Can you help me? Absolutely, Don. You if you go to our website, drlodi.com, drlodi.com, and I think it would behoove you to join the CFC group, which would deal specifically with that. And you and I can speak, twice a week because you'll have access to all the meetings, uh, and we can talk about your current situation, the progress, and all that. So it's that's a very, very important way to do it. And in fact, it's the only way. But your PSA was 0.20, so it sounds like you must have had a surgery. Anyway, that's how you do it. So please, Don, join. There's a parasite group in there. All right, so this is Laura. And Laura says, I want all the details on parasite detox and heavy med detox for me and my children. Well, all the details. You can get all the details if you join the health and healing group, but um, short of that, the only difference between adults and children are the amounts you would use if you were using, for example, if part of your detox protocol included a parasite cleanse and the anti-parasitic medications. Um, right, which I just went over actually with a former question. But the other thing is that with children, the dosages would be different because it goes by body weight. And all these drugs are actually safe for children. they're given this children worldwide because the conditions that we've identified, such as uh, roundworm and uh, flatworms and all the worms that are well known, pinworms and all that are worldwide, and so they're taken. These medications are taken from people all over the world, and then there are specific and unusual parasites like onchocerciasis, where it gets into the eye, um, or you take ivermectin. So it really depends on what Laura. So what's been your recent exposure, um, and are there any symptoms, etc., to really come up with appropriate protocol. Um, and then, and as I said, for the children, um, we'd have to decrease for body weight. But so with the parasite detox, it's on the website. But the heavy metal detox, the way you detox from it is you stop eating them. So you've got to watch out for the food that you're eating, and then the the way that we eliminate it on purpose, not by some bodily mechanism, is through different chelation agents. So there is EDTA, the calcium disodium EDTA, and um, just the EDTA. And a lot of times the EDTA is exchanged for calcium EDTA, which is a good idea in terms of its ability to give it fast and all that. And it's equally as effective in removing the metals, but you don't get the extra benefit of really adjusting the thyroid, because which it does. It naturally adjusts the thyroid. So Laura, yeah, someone has just was making my attention, bringing my attention to. Yeah. All right. Very good. Very good. Okay. Now, this is a question from Jen, and it's called Alternative CFC Therapies. Have you heard of Dr. Pat Soon Shiong? He is a former UCLA professor and medical doctor and a CFC researcher for over 30 years. He has a theory that people who cannot clear the COVID virus or vaccine develop long COVID, which suppresses our immune system, which leads to CFCs. He said it destroys killer T cells and other protective measures in our body. He has developed BioShield, which clears the virus and builds up the CTC and other things. I listened to him speak on the Daily Show and other shows. And he talks exactly like you, Dr. Lodi, in regards to cancer and the standard of care. He is injecting people with glioblastoma, HIV, and other diseases with great success. All right, so, well, sounds amazing. I don't know the fellow, but it sounds amazing. However, and this is a very powerful however, um, I don't think you would have to worry about clearing the COVID vaccine, because I don't think it exists. I mean, the COVID or bacteria. I mean, virus, and of course the vaccine. And developing long COVID, we found out that the only people that develop what they're calling long COVID are people who have been vaccinated. They're injected, not vaccinated. So that's what we're finding. So in that regard, I'm not sure. Maybe his explanation would be a little bit different on what he's doing. So we'd have to hear that. But it's usually a simple thing that you do once or twice a week or something. But it's quite complicated to understand. So I'd love to hear that. So, um, so right, if you can actually right, right. So if you can actually um, if you actually cause any damage to the immune system, you're actually helping the CFC. So it's a very uh, whether or not that there's theories, and theories are when are opinions. People don't have the knowledge, because if you have the knowledge about something, it's no longer a theory. So, um, but what I love about it is that it actually does restore um, the the immune system, the strength of our immune system. So this is interesting. He's injecting people daily with glioblastomas, HIV, and others with great success. So I'd love to find out what that is. I would definitely look up Dr. Pat Soon Shiong. It sounds pretty amazing. So here's a new name, and it's Annette, or name, not new name. Um, she says, "Hi, I stopped meds as instructed to take by day 31. That they found was by day 3. Flare up was so intense." Well, this is very similar. So, can you recommend a support or rotation schedule so parasites are never missed on a 5 to 2 schedule because of the severe adverse reaction to 3 days off the drugs? That's really odd, because prior to taking the drugs, were things very severe, and then so anyway, Annette, I hope you're on the parasite Telegram group, so we can talk directly. We can interact. So if not, join it, because you've already paid for it by being a member, so it's a free. Definitely get on that. So here are some comments on different platforms. Is creatine good for women for strength and bones health, or if you had CFCs? Thank you. Well, creatine is a natural product that we produce for that purpose. So the answer is no. It's not. It's not. It's not a dangerous or deleterious thing. It's a pretty natural substance. And this is from Charlie. He says, "Greetings. What's the discount code for the CDC group?" Oh wow, I'm not sure of the discount code for the CDC group. Hopefully, someone's going to post it soon. So now that you've asked this, quite formally, uh, I hope it gets answered on our chat, because I don't personally know the discount code. not sure if it works. All right, so now are we? The next person would be Viada. And her question is, hello, the U.S. tells I've got polyps in gallbladder. I would like to take anti-parasitic treatment. I've already got the home ivermectin and Vermox. I still don't have praziquantel. My family doctor would certainly refuse to support me in this treatment. Should I take any substance like NAC or probiotic? So yeah, you've got to join the parasite group really because this is important and get all the details you can. But unless you have a specific reason for taking praziquantel, you don't need it. You can take niclosamide, 500 milligrams 3 times a day, and that you can get quite easily from niclosam.com. And there was another one. What is that? It's All Science. I'm not sure what that is, but anyway, that's a. I wish I knew off the top of my head. I'm sure it'll get answered in the chat soon. But that one's very important because you can get almost anything you need there without a prescription. So that's wow, very helpful. Okay, so now this is. So the U.S. tells I've got polyps in the gallbladder. I'm like, I've already got it. So I still don't have project. Okay, so you understand that. Should I take any supplements like NAC or probiotic while taking this treatment? And absolutely. And the protocol for the, for the liver support during this, as we've gone over, is alpha lipoic acid, um, silymarin, milk thistle, or and some source of vitamin B1, thiamine, and alpha lipoic acid. Oh yeah, I said that. And alpha lipoic acid and the NAC and acetylcysteine. And N-acetylcysteine is just a single amino acid, which you can get at Sprouts or Whole Foods or any store like that or online anywhere. So those are all easily obtainable without having to see a doctor. That's crazy. So yeah. So these are from Instagram. What is the safest scan to show if CFCs are active in the body? Well, yeah, none of them are without safety concerns. None of them. Even a simple X-ray, or maybe an ultrasound would be without safety concerns. But the real, the thing that we need to be aware of is that we want to make sure that whatever we're doing is going to give us the results, and that is allow us to see what we're looking for. Okay, so sometimes we'll find we have to do things that carry some risk, but we weigh the risks and benefits and decide what's necessary. So if your conventional doctor or even alternative doctor has concluded they don't know how to work with you therapeutically unless they have this information, then you're in a situation where you have to do it. Now, the best scanning for CFCs, I think, is a PET along with the CT. They do it at the same time. And that is because you see the anatomy precisely where it's located and what its dimensions are. And You also see the activity level, which is essential to know because that's your baseline. And after you've been treating for 6 or 8 weeks, you'll notice that then you would want to see, have we diminished the size but not the activity, or the size and the activity, or just the activity, or anyway, that's very important to know. So the second question is how to detox from metals and parasites naturally. A 4-year old. Well, are you sure your 4-year old has parasites? And so, with your 4-year old, what you want to do is just make sure that you're feeding it very healthy food, because it has, 4-year olds have a very high nutritional requirement because of the rate at which they're growing. So, you can use smoothies, the, the fresh nut milk with chia seed, using it to make a chia seed. Well, instead of which we use to make a chia seed porridge, but instead you take a couple tablespoons of the chia seed, grind them up, and put them in the milk, nut milk. Add 2 handfuls of spinach, and then whatever else you want, pineapple, coconut, strawberry, apple, to make it delicious. And that would be a daily thing. Because if you put a child on a juice cleanse, they're going to feel like they're starving, and you're not going to be able to reason with them at 3 years old. Um, but unfortunately, there's you can be you can require that of your children, but you should do it in a way that helps them understand what they're doing, and do it with them. It's always best to do the green juice cleanse or juice cleanse with them, so they see that you're both doing it and you're okay, and that you understand how they're feeling and all that sort of thing. That's so it's always very important to do that if you can. All right. So, do I have any thoughts about getting the shingles vaccine? The answer is nay. And then, after second thought, nay. And then, after third thought, nay. You got to understand that it doesn't even make sense to get a shingles. I mean, the other ones don't work. However, if you didn't know that they don't work, you might think it makes sense. But shingles is the recurrence of a uh, of chickenpox, um, and it's not that it's recurrent. It's just that the exosome or virus that they call it, um, hangs out in the spinal column, probably the roots. The roots are where the spine, where the peripheral nerves come out of the spinal column, and um, they only come out or get active when the person is stressed, right? So that's either physical stress, or emotional distress, and over a period of time. So physical would be like they had a period of time in their lives where they just were not going to bed until 2 or 3 in the morning, and they found themselves drinking alcohol or other things at night, not getting sleep. Just and a continuous time like that will weaken the immune system, which allows that breakout to occur. All right, so anyway, that's the exit. um, what I wanted to share with you. And I don't use the word vaccine because they're not vaccines. None of them are. They do not do what they claim. They do not do what they claim. We have a vaccination program that was developed by God, and it's in our bodies, and it works extremely well. And it has for millions of years. And that isn't it odd to consider that how the heck did we all survive, including animals and all that, when there were no vaccines around? How did we make it here? And in fact, think about this: who invented vaccines? The unvaccinated. Anyway, the whole thing is a bizarre scam. So don't get locked up in it; just get out of it. Wow. Okay, so I feel like my legs are wobbly and I can't walk far. Okay, so wow. Well, I would like to know a lot more about your current situation to understand it and respond. That's why it'd be really helpful to ask this on one of our Zoom meetings. If you were to join the group, you could join the health and healing group. Um, so, do you? I mean, do you have any specific illnesses that are being treated so that you're being exposed to some sort of some form of toxicity? So, really need to know that. Is there a chronic illness around that, or it just this just developed out of you were fine and now you just have wobbly legs and can't walk? Now, when you say wobbly legs, do you mean are they also deformed? Like are deformed in that they're skinnier than they normally are, and it's an obvious obvious problem by anybody who saw. Um, and so I'm imagining you can't walk, but because they're so wobbly, you can't bear any weight to support, stepping. So that's really so. I would like to know the context of what's going on, how long it's been going on, and where is the or where are they lesions? And they found when they did a scan. And so anyway, so you started out this sentence with saying, "I feel like my legs are wobbly." So would be really helpful if you could send in a some of the imaging to me so I could look at it and see what I can see thus far, and you know decide whether or not something else is necessary. Um, and also with that, give a brief medical history so I can know where you're at, what context this is all happening, so it can help. All right. So now the next question is this is let me see this. Brighton. don't see it. All right. Um, okay, so okay, so here's thoughts on Cadsilla. Stage 1, triple positive. Did 4-month Taxol lumpectomy and still small residual. So these, let's see. I have not heard of this particular. Oh, it's trastuzumab. Okay, trastuzumab is also called Herceptin, but I never heard the brand name of Kadcyla. But anyway, that's what it is. It binds to it's a monoclonal antibody that binds to um, the HER2 receptor on cells, and the HER2 receptor is on all cells anyway. All cells have a HER1 through HER5, also called epidermal growth factors. But um, what they're finding is that it's upregulated with people with CFCs, um, and therefore people with CFCs, uh, not everyone, but you'll find that their HER2 is positive, and for some reason it's just that one that's upregulated, not the other ones. And so they've developed a monoclonal antibody that attacks that. Remember, monoclonal antibody is an antibody that's been made by your body to something that they want that they're aiming for. So it's got a place, perhaps, in the entire program that you might have for healing. But yeah, it's got a uh, so there's pretty much the what's called the immunotherapy nowadays with CFCs are fundamentally two kinds. One is the monoclonal antibody part, and the other is the H2 the PD1 PDL1 blockers, called checkpoint inhibitors. But so with HER2, what's interesting too is HER2 is not only with breast, it can be found with colon, it can be found with um, stomach. So it's not only breasts. So very important to understand. But they don't usually look for it, which is odd. But anyway, again, what is preferable is to understand is that HER2 is going to be positive um, on a group of people, regardless of and there's no way to know which people are going to be HER2 positive and HER2 negative. But if you understand that that's just that your epidermal growth factor number 2 has been upregulated, and that you're therefore, because what the epidermal growth factor says is when it gets stimulated, it causes growth. So it's just one of the mechanisms that continues the the growth of a tumor, just one of them. So basically, if we're doing what we always talk about, which is removing all the reasons why tumors occur, and which is through our detox, and we're targeting the CFCs with um, non-toxic therapies based on their metabolism, and we're reawakening the immune system, then we're doing all that we really can, or all that's really necessary as well. So, so the question, so my thoughts on the Cadsilla are, um, it really okay. So since this is not such a dangerous medication, I mean, they all have poison, but it's really even more importantly that you make the decision based on your feeling and sense of things. So a lot of times when people ask this kind of question, their feeling is they shouldn't, but they have another deeper feeling that says, but I have to. I'm afraid if I don't. And that's a conflict within based on not having enough knowledge. So that's where you know that you've got to really investigate it. So what you need to understand is, what are these epidermal growth factors? What are they? Why are they on cells, etc.? And then, secondly, what is the advantage to CFCs by upregulating to have more of it around? And then you have to understand the different therapies, how they're produced, and we're talking about monoclonal antibodies, uh, and and then what's their direct action on the tumor that is considered the goal, and what are the other actions that could be considered adverse, or are there other positive effects? Because it's something you have to decide. And the reason I say that is because if you took my advice or anyone's advice on what to decide, and yet you still had an internal conflict, then that internal conflict will really uh, greatly inhibit healing. So, why do I feel like this is from, on the Instagram? I can't really, there's no names. Um, why do I feel like the floor is moving below me? Well, if you feel like that, there's really uh, two forms of dizziness when we use the term dizziness. Um, we're referring to being lightheaded, just like, oh, I'm dizzy, I'm going to fall, right? Or being on a boat or where the floor is moving, things are spinning. So they're both called dizzy, but they're two different phenomena. The first one is usually due to severe dehydration or something else that's caused volume depletion, the volume of blood, and dehydration is probably the most common. Uh, so if that happens when you stand up, you don't have enough blood volume that even though the arterioles in your legs kind of clamp down um, to keep the blood up there, flowing up there, and not go down into the legs. Uh, if you're severely dehydrated or you've had blood loss or anything like that, that you won't be able to do that. So you'll stand up and you'll feel really lightheaded and you need to sit down again. All right, so that's one. The other one is a inner ear, not a middle ear, not an outer ear, but an inner ear um, problem. And what the inner ear is it's on three different planes, um, and they're kind of like these hollowed out stone, uh, constructed of stone, like, or you know whatever they are. They're anyway. They're these hollowed out. tubes that have in them little hairs that are, you know, form the are part of the floor, and they, as they are moved, they produce an electrical signal that goes to the brain and gets interpreted. So when you were a child and you would spin around on purpose fast and then stop, and it was fun because you were still spinning, but you're spinning in the opposite direction. And the reason it is because the fluid was going this way while you were going this way. And then when you stopped, when you just stopped and it kept going, it it caused you to feel, it's called vertigo instead of dizziness. It's called vertiginous. You felt vertigo. And fortunately, that doesn't last very long. As soon as your body stops, the fluid stops flowing. But there are many people who wind up getting chronic um, vertigo, which can be a real problem. And there are actually websites and groups that you can join for that. Um, so I don't really know. So it sounds like for you, it's just beginning. And since you're focusing on the fact that your legs you can't walk because your legs are wobbly, it sounds like that whatever the subjective feeling in your head is not significant yet. So you've got to find out which one it is. So you've got to go to a doctor or any kind of clinician that's able to help you figure that out. Um, and then once you know, then you would be best to go to a holistically alternative medicine type of person in your area who would have the ability to evaluate you and treat you appropriately. And you can look in your journals. There's we've talked about this before, the American Academy of Anti-Aging Medicine. I mean, of that. Oh, sorry, and there's also the American Academy of, what is that one called? I don't know why suddenly everything's in Chinese. What? I'm trying to get an image. Okay. Anyway, it's called the American College for the Advancement of Medicine, also called ACAM. And the reason it's important is because everyone who's trained through there, who's been trained by them, and they're very good, will have, it'll be on their website as having been trained. Um, and you can pretty much be assured that they were trained, well for this. Whether or not they remember and they do it correctly and all that is one thing, but the fact is that they were trained well. Um, and I'm looking here right now, and so here, so one of the notes here is, let us find an integrative physician near you. So you'd click on that. All right. So that would be great. That would be great. All right. So, um, I don't have your name, but about the floor moving under your feet. Um, as I said, it sounds like it's early on in the condition, and if you're focused mostly on the legs moving around, um, and you're not really talking about an experience that's going on in your head, and that there are no associated symptoms like nausea, which because if you were on a boat like that, you would be nauseous. So none of that is happening. Then you should maybe go to you I don't even know if there are any holistic or alternative minded oncologists, but you can go to any kind of doctor because the treatment for vertigo, first of all, is finding out what's causing it, what kind it is, and what's causing it, and eliminating that cause. But it also involves detoxification and um, everything that we do. But in the meantime, if the feeling, subjective feeling, is so powerful that you actually get nauseated by standing up and walking, if you ever get to that point, then it's really important to treat it. And there's a treatment for it. It's not available in Thailand for some reason, but you can order it from the U.S. And I'm sure most other countries use it because it's it works and it's important. And it's basically it's from the class of medications called the phenothiazines. And the yeah, all right. Um, so the medication, the phenothiazine that would block, there are actually two that would block the nausea associated with this kind of sensation. Because if it, imagine if it was really active and you just you couldn't not be dizzy, and it would be a bummer. So it's used for that. It's both the promethazine, which is commonly used, and the chloroperazine, perazine, chloroperazine, which is basically the other common, the other common one. So they block that, and you just do them for short periods. You don't do them for prolonged periods, because these types of medications, if you do them for too long, you can get you know kind of bizarre psychological effects. Like I think I've never I've never gotten a clear answer from people who are doing it, but it's like they're seeing bugs or seeing things like that, and that's no fun. You don't want to get that way, so you don't take them for long periods, but they will turn off the nausea associated with that because it's hard otherwise to turn off the nausea associated with that. Right. So um, anyway, so the lesser medication that's used in that situation uh, is called meclizine, and meclizine, Meclizine. That's usually 25 milligrams, probably 3 times a day, and you could go up as necessary, and down as necessary. So what it does is um, it actually allows you to take control of what you're doing. rather than having someone else tell you what to do. And I always prefer that. Okay, so ah, anyway, so meclizine, 25 milligrams, anywhere from 1 to 4 times a day, actually stops the spinning. And that's fantastic. Okay, not just the nausea associated with stops the spinning, and it's in the same drug category as the others because you'll notice it ends with ZINE. All right, and you just get meclizine, and I've never seen it not work on people. So 25 milligrams anywhere up to 1 to 4 times a day. So here's the next question, and again, I don't quite have the name. The question is stage 4 or 5 years into local recurrence on same breast, other parts stable surgery. So you say other parts stable surgery. Stage 4, stable 5 years in local recurrence on same breast, other parts stable. Okay, so anyway, when you say other parts, I'm assuming that you mean you might have secondary locations of tumors like metastasis, and so there was a local recurrence on the same breast, other parts stable, and the question is surgery. All right, so you've had a local recurrence on the same breast where apparently, I guess some surgery was done, either a lumpectomy or a mastectomy. I'm not sure, or unilateral mastectomy. Um, so, anyway, a local recurrence just means it's growing on usually on the scar, and that's not unusual on the scar or around it, because actually, as it's being removed, the stem cells get out, and that's basically it. And remember, our job is to not make the body a hospitable host to stem cells, meaning that the soil they land in just is not compatible with them becoming strong. But it is compatible with us becoming strong and healthy and vibrant. And then what's an appropriate email for reaching out in regard to podcast interviews? Oh, well, Thomas at drlodi.com, drlodi.com. THOMAS at drlodi.com would be an appropriate email. Or hello at drlodi.com. Somebody's scraping my window. So this next question is: I'm losing lots of weight on a keto diet, and with breast CFC, breast left breast hormone therapy. One thing is to keep energy. Hmm. So you're losing lots of energy or lots of weight on the keto diet. Well, that's going to happen because the keto diet, actually the goal, and I think we've talked about this several times. When one gets into a state of ketosis, which means that they have predominantly ketone bodies being made, which are breakdown products of fat, and that they become the central part of metabolism. When that's happening, you're in a state of ketosis. And of course, that would happen if you're not eating enough carbs, because carbohydrates will turn on the glucose metabolism. So if you're not eating carbs and you are eating fats, that will turn into ketone bodies. And since you're not eating carbohydrates, your body will be breaking down your own fats, which is why we have fat, um, into ketone bodies. So the ketone bodies will be used for fuel. They'll provide energy to the cells. But when you say you're on a keto diet, often people think they are, and they're doing it, but they're not really measuring anything to know if they are. So like at least once a day, doing your ketone bodies and your glucose to figure out your glucose to ketone index, your GKI, and usually you want that to be less than 1.0. It's hard to achieve just on food, even if you're eating all fat. So, in spite of what you're eating, you probably have to do 1 to 2 days a week of just water only, just to keep you in generalized ketosis. And so, ketosis will obviously prevent the not it prevents the. In order to get into ketosis, you have to not have the carbs, so there'll be no stimulus to produce fat, and so body weight will come down for that reason, and because you're breaking down the fat to be used for fuel. So, yeah, so that's why you're losing weight. Which is perfect, perfect, not only perfectly fine, but actually something you want to happen, unless you've reached the point where you're cachectic, where your body's actually consuming itself. And if that's where you get to the point, is you've got to stop, because cachexia is and that it can be very nasty. It's way different than like catching a cold or anything like that, or anything that's going to involve one organ system, because cachexia involves the whole body, and it really evolves from the fact that people don't want to eat or you can't eat. So, in order to work with someone with that condition, you would work with them um, due to the causes, each separate part. So, if they can't eat because they're nauseous, or they can't eat because there's an obstruction, or whatever it is, you have to deal with that. Um, if they don't want to eat, in other words, they have no what you call an appetite. If you had the luxury, the best thing to do is wait and see how long it would take for someone to get an appetite. And if you didn't want to wait that long, you could just, have everything ready when they come over and eat. But it's difficult. So that's where the use of cannabis comes in. Cannabis is very important for stimulating appetite, um, and um, it also will have a beneficial effect if anyone gets nauseous from eating. And sometimes it's just um, that the person hasn't eaten enough over time, so their GI system isn't working that well, and you know. But usually, to get cachectic, it's usually in someone with stage 4 that has gone to multiple areas, and um, is causing like major biochemical alert systems on in different parts of the body, which is exhausting the immune system. Um, and so the tumor metabolism, our body turns back mainly to a tumor metabolism. And so, so that's the way to deal with it. Is and you know the other thing we use with cachexia, as we've mentioned many times, is we want to heal the gut, right? And so we're going to use the glutamine, which is the primary fuel for enterocytes, small cell intestines, and it's a fuel for CFCs. However, it's also the necessary fuel for lymphocytes, which actually turn out to be the cells that become natural killer cells, and T cells activate that actually gobble up and eat tumors. So when you look at all the risks and benefits, the risk of using it is far outweighs the risk of not using it, because you have to adjust to the fact that a certain therapy cannot be used by you. So we're going to find other ways of achieving the same thing. There are many different ways of getting the same thing achieved. We've got several in Arizona. Your thoughts on parasite cleanses? Should we all do one per year? Yeah, yeah. I think we should all do initially a good long one to make sure that we've got them all, and then I think a one year daily maintenance would be great. You'll still be shocked if you could manifest anything. But a lot of people, me for instance, um, nothing came out anywhere. So you know, if you want to see something, it's usually people who have obvious worms and stuff that they can see all the time, and then they stop seeing them or they diminish significantly. Then that's noted. Otherwise, it's really hard to know what benefit you're getting. But yes, once a year is fantastic. But actually, um, you mean as a maintenance? So you've already done an intensive first year, which could be 3 to 9 months, depending, or a year. And now the maintenance would be depending on how long that one was, how long your initial one was, can be anywhere from I don't know, 14 days up, 2 weeks up to 8, 12 weeks. And usually the longer the better because it does multiple beneficial effects and can change the metabolism of the tumor is not central. So it's very good. Now, Fenbendazole criticized lately. CFC's coming back worse after first success. Again, I think we talked about this last week. Please send me some, what you're seeing in that regard, and then I'll read it, and then we can talk about it next week. But send me, okay, whatever you're seeing about the criticizing fenbendazole. It was criticized before. It was before Joe Tippins used it. It was called a dog dewormer or a horse dewormer or things like that, and um, they didn't recommend it at all. They said it was dangerous and all that for humans. Well, it turns out it's not. I mean, it's no more dangerous than the other ones. Um, and I've had hundreds of people on uh, the all the different benzimidazoles, but especially fenbendazole. And the reason is because fenbendazole has gained such popularity because of Joe Tippins, and other people have followed in his doing exactly what he's doing with great results. So, but it's not that the others wouldn't work, right? But and researchers were not being offered grants to do it either. However, Joe Tippins came in and had already done it himself, and it showed, an incredible effect. So that's how it came to be. Otherwise, the medical world focuses on fenbendazole and albendazole, and I'm not quite sure, why. But I mean, why they decided that these are human and those are animal, but they're not. But as I pointed out earlier, when we're talking about mammals, we all have very similar bodies: four-chambered hearts, two lungs, four limbs, gastrointestinal tract. Pretty much the same, except there's different refinements and adaptations to different parts of the central nervous system, which is brain and spinal cord, as well as the peripheral nervous system. So, all right, you guys, green medicine. All right, you guys, I'm sure in the chat there's somewhere that people are telling us all the answers to our questions. So, anyway, I'm um, apologize for the late start today, and I'll see you tomorrow at the meeting. Is it tomorrow? Yeah. Tomorrow, my morning, your night for the meeting, if you're in that group. Okay? All right. Sawadi Cup. And aloha.